Good evening, welcome to ITV News. This is Thursday night's calendar.
Here are tonight's main stories. Well, the Imperial College's REACT study has concluded that the number of infected people has fallen by 2/3, but ultimately the rate is still high. Our political correspondent Harry Horton has been following this. I spoke to him earlier and started by asking, why is the fall less significant here? Well, one person who's backing this is Terry McGeary from Hull. His wife Lynn, who has Alzheimer's, went into a care home last summer. They've had no physical contact since then, and Terry says it's taking its toll. He's been speaking to Michael Billington. Oh, Terry, our hearts go out to him,
That's got me a bit,
don't
that
they?
has, I'm afraid, yeah.
It's heartbreaking, isn't it? It's really...
It is.
Yeah.
I mean, I've visited my mum twice in the last 2 weeks. It's just started. And it's exactly the same. I see her through a Perspex screen, and I'm able to stay half an hour. And it's fantastic, absolutely fantastic. There's a little microphone, she can hear us clearly, but that's in a pod, that's in a kind of a controlled situation. But having to look through the window, and so upsetting, isn't it?
Let's hope they can
Yeah,
see each
let's
other
hope it's not too
properly
far
soon.
away. Let's hope it's not too far away. Still to come on the programme,
Well, more of the day's news now. And a man from Doncaster has been jailed for 6 years for assaulting someone with a machete. Now, dog theft is on the rise in our region during the pandemic, according to a major website devoted to finding stolen pets. The organisation Dog Lost UK says there's been a 170% increase in the number of dogs that they've had registered as stolen. Well, a little earlier I spoke to Justine Quirk from Dog Lost UK and began by asking why figures for dog thefts have been so high in South Yorkshire. Charlene, thanks very much. Now, in just 9 years' time, a big change is coming in the world of transport. The sale of new petrol and diesel cars will be banned in the UK.
Earlier this month, the government urged local councils to take advantage of a £20 million fund for on-street residential electric vehicle charge points. Well, overall, take-up in Lincolnshire is low, but there are 14 points installed in Boston and 11 in East Lindsey.
Well, motoring journalist Ginny Buckley has been looking at the government's big green move for this evening's Tonight programme, and we'll be hearing from her shortly. But now, Otis Holmes has this report. Well, a little earlier I caught up with the presenter of tonight's programme, Ginny Buckley, and I started asking her whether she thinks there's going to be sufficient infrastructure in place by 2030 to give us the confidence to get into electric cars. What about the millions of people who don't have driveways? How are they going to charge their cars overnight? I understand as well that there's a suggestion in your programme that some electric cars may not be as green as they seem. Can you tell us about that? Well, you can see more from Cars, the end of petrol and diesel, tonight on ITV from 7:30.
But now last night's football, I'm afraid there'll be no trip to Wembley in March for Lincoln City, beaten on penalties by Sunderland in the semi-final of the EFL Trophy last night. Here's John with all last night's action. John with the action there. Well, finally this evening, a film will be released next week about the death of Christopher Alder in police custody in Hull in 1998.
Yeah, typical stars. Richard Blackwood, and was originally a play, but due to the pandemic, its run in London was put on pause and the creative team decided to make it into a film. Here's Arif Ahmed.
Sure, it'll be quite a performance.
It is. It's a case we covered many times here on the programme. Ross Hutchinson's here now with the weather.
Thanks very much, Ross. That's it from us. Our next update's 10:30.
The national and international stories are coming next with Charlene White.
But for now, from the whole team on Calendar, thanks very much indeed for watching, and we'll see you again soon. Good night.
Bye-bye.
Good evening, welcome to ITV News. This is Thursday night's Calendar.
And here are tonight's main stories.
Well, first tonight, one lost her dad when she was just 13 years old. The other, her son, when he was 26. Both were victims of one-punch attacks, which cost them their lives.
Today, the grieving mother from Chesterfield virtually met the teenager from Sheffield, who's now grown up to become one of the youngest MPs in the land. And with her place in the Commons, is determined to change sentencing for the one-punch killers. Martin Fisher has the story. Part of Leeds is to become the focus of a major new coronavirus testing campaign after 2 potential cases of the South African COVID-19 variant were discovered in an area of the city. Well, all this comes as fresh analysis of infection rates has revealed that numbers in Yorkshire and the Humber are falling, but not as quickly as many other parts of the country. So let's get more on this with our political... Across our region, thousands of people are waiting to find out whether they must now shield because of the increased risk to their health if they catch the virus, after a new list was drawn up based on analysis of information gathered during the first wave. Charlene, thanks very much. Now, dog theft is on the rise during the pandemic, according to a major website devoted to finding stolen pets. Dogs Lost UK says there's been a 170% increase in the number of dogs that they've had registered as stolen. Now, in just 9 years' time, a big change is coming in the world of transport. The sale of new petrol and diesel cars will be banned in the UK.
Earlier this month, the government urged local councils to take advantage of a £20 million fund for on-street residential electric vehicle charging points. Overall take-up in our region is low, but in Chesterfield, grants have allowed 28 charge points to be installed. Motoring
journalist Ginny Buckley has been looking at the government's big green move for this evening's Tonight programme, and we'll be hearing from her shortly. But now Otis Holmes has this report. Well, a little earlier, I caught up with the presenter of tonight's programme, Ginny Buckley. I started by asking her whether she thinks there's going to be enough infrastructure up and running by 2030 to give us the confidence to get into electric cars. About the millions of people who don't have driveways, how are they going to charge their cars overnight? I understand as well that there's a suggestion in your programme that some electric cars may not be as green as they seem. Can you tell us about that? Well, it's time now for some sport. Now, last night's football, and Barnsley continued their climb up the championship table with a well-deserved win against Blackburn at Oakwell.
Hull City also had a thumping win in League One, but elsewhere there was little to cheer about, as John Shires reports. John, thank you. Now, finally this evening, Leeds boxer Josh Warrington has vowed to fight on despite suffering a brutal defeat on Saturday night, his first as a professional.
Yes, he was overwhelming favourite against the little-known Mexican Mauricio Lara, but was knocked down twice and was given oxygen in the ring and taken to hospital afterwards.
Thankfully, he was discharged that night. Unfortunately, he had a perforated ear, broken jaw and damaged shoulder. But he's back at home, nursing his injuries and his wounded pride, and he's been speaking to Chris Dawkes. And there's Josh talking to Chris Dawkes there, and we wish him all the very best.
Very honest interview.
Yeah. And if he wants to come back, mate. Come back stronger.
Yeah, we do love Josh. Well, here's Ross with the weather now.
Thanks, Ross. That's it. The national international stories are next with Charlene White.
But for now, from all our team here on Calendar, thank you for watching. Bye-bye for now.
Good night.